Oh, this will be fun.
Hi, everybody. It's Natalie from Creative Makers and kind of Missy. Um, and I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for being here. I am here today with James T. Walker, who goes by Tim. And Tim is an artist who was involved in cartoons, mostly in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
I did it for 50 years. I started in 1964 and I retired in 2014.
Okay, way longer. Way longer than I even thought.
Now that we're on camera, let me get my hair fixed. I'm good now. I'm good to go. It's nice to see you, Natalie. I'm happy you're here.
Anyway, we're going to talk to Tim about his art. So I only ask one question, and then everything goes from there.
Okay.
Everything that goes from here, I couldn't tell you.
Let's get the question out of the way. What is it?
The question's easy. Tell me about what it was growing up, being like growing up and being a creative kid. What did it look like for you?
Oh, it was. I had the world by the tail. I mean, I was very lucky. I had parents and I had two older brothers, and my parents encouraged us to find what we wanted. And I was being babysit with my brothers. We're running around, going crazy. And I ran by the TV set, and something caught my eye. And then this is what they told me years later. And I stopped and I went back and said, "What's that? What's that?" And it was a cartoon. It was like Heckle and Jekyll or Mighty Mouse, like the early 50s.
Yeah.
I was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And I saw those old cartoons, and I was hooked. That's me. I'm going to do that. I want to do that. So I like to think that I started drawing that day, but probably within a month. You had to learn to draw, so I started drawing, and I drew all the time. And one day, on the street that I grew up on, these people moved in next door to us, and the father was the head of publicity for Channel 7 ABC for the entire West Coast.
I was going to say, this was in California, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is right around the corner in Laurel Canyon and Moore Park, right there.
We're in North Hollywood, basically, Toluca Lake.
California, Studio City, Toluca Lake. And so he came over one day, and he said, I grew up on a cul-de-sac with about 40 kids, all ages, from babies to 10. And so he came over one day, he was socializing with my parents or partying or whatever, and he said, "Tim, you're going to love this new show. It's going to be on ABC in September, and it's done by the same people who did Huck Hound and Yogi Bear, and it's going to be called The Flintstones." And I knew about The Flintstones about a year before it came out because they were already getting it set up, for TV. But what was really important was he told me where Hanna-Barbera Studios was. Now, this was always plan A, that I wanted to be in animation. There was never a plan B. I never even thought of a plan B. This is just going to happen.
So you were one of those kids then that absolutely knew exactly what it was. From the moment you saw that first cartoon, You're like, this is what I want to do.
Exactly. And so he told me where Hanna-Barbera was, and it was, I looked at a map and I realized it was right down the street from my grade school where I went to grade school. I mean, it was within probably a mile, and I could ride my bike down there. So I rode my bike down there one Saturday and found it. There was a trash can in the back. I went back there and I opened up the trash can, and there were thousands of cells, the original cells, right? And backgrounds. In fact, I have one cell hanging on my wall upstairs in my studio office. I'll show it to you later. I'll bring it down. Fred Flintstone from the opening titles, the end titles, where he's smoking a Winston cigarette, and it's sponsored by Winston Cigarettes. And it's probably the only one in existence now. Some guy offered me $10,000 for it one day. I said, "No way, I can't do it, because if I sell this, I'll never get it back. It's part of my childhood. I can't do it." But anyway, so I lived in Hanna-Barbera's trash can for. I was an original dumpster diver from 1959 to probably 65 or 66. I had Johnny Quest, Flintstones, Top Cat, Jetsons, Huckleberry Hound.
Here we're back on. Oh, good. Okay. I'm sorry if we lost you there. We were having a connection issue.
So I dumpster dove for years, and I met a guy who came to my school from New York in the 6th grade, I think it was, named Robert Alvarez. He became my best friend, and we grew up dumpster diving together. and we did 50 years together in animation. We're like have you heard of Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson? They're the famous Disney animators who were friends for years and years.
No, I didn't know, but
we're
you
like
were
the Frank and Ollie of our generation. And anyway, it was great. I mean, he loved what he did, and he's so grateful he met me, and I'm so grateful I met him because we did it together and had shared a wonderful life with kids and everything.
So then, I mean, you knew that you wanted to be an artist. Yes. Did you actually go to art school or anything?
Yes. So I drew all the time, and I went to Chenard Art School, which is downtown Los Angeles. And Chenard Art School is where the great Disney animators of the 30s and 40s who did Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry, all those great guys.
All those things.
And I got to work with those guys. Those guys were my heroes. I mean, and great artists. They were, if the talent level had to be up to their standings when they got into business, man, a lot of people wouldn't have made it because they were so talented. They were so great. And I always found that when I worked for those great super talents, they were the nicest guys. If you were having trouble doing a drawing, they would help you. And the hacks were the guys who were not nice. They were just jerks, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, I dumpster dove the whole time. The first time I met Mr. Barbera.
Oh, you met Mr. Barbera?
Yeah. I'm 10 years old in the trash can, and I hear this, "Get out of that trash can, you knothead." And then he had come out he was leaving on a Saturday, got to his car, and he happens to see the thing open. It said, one of those big dumpsters. And I'm inside the trash can getting this stuff. And so he made me put them back, and then he drove, and I went back and got them all. I'm no dummy. I'm not going to leave that stuff there. So I went to art school. I went to Chenard Art School, and then it became the California Institute of the Arts up at Valencia, Cal Arts.
Yeah.
I graduated from the first graduation class of Cal Arts. The very first one, 1970 or 71, I think it is. And I never thought, like I said, there's never been a plan B. It's always plan A. Now, I think about this nowadays, but I never thought about this. What if the cartoons were no longer being made, and these were old cartoons that they just reshuffled and showed? What if they were all done in Europe or someplace where I can't get to there, and I can't? What if there's all these things? But fortunately, it was all in my own backyard.
Yeah.
And now you got to remember something. This is another thing I've thought about quite a bit about. These cartoons, like Huckleberry Hound, Yogi Bear, all that stuff, Flintstones, all that, they're shown all over the world. All over the world.
Yes.
So there are people all over the world that want to get into animation, and they come to Los Angeles, they come to America to get in, whatever. So there's the talent level is, I mean, I have worked with guys that make me look like a nothing. I mean, they're phenomenal artists. And I just walked right into all this. I mean, there was no struggle at all for me. People had to do interviews and stuff. I just walked right in, the door was open, I walked in. I started working and I became an in-betweener for these guys. A low level, the first thing was an in-betweener you do, and then an assistant animator, then an animator, a director, a producer.
What does an in-betweener do?
An in-betweener fills in like if I have my hand here like this, I'm going to lift my hand like this. This is the first drawing. This is these are called extremes. These are the two extreme drawings.
And you guys can't see what he's doing with his hands, but he's...
Let me see, let me do like this. Okay, let's say I have my hand like this, and I'm going to go like that. This is the animator's first extreme. He does this drawing, and he does this drawing. Now he may put a drawing in the middle like this to show you opening my hand. Now the in-betweener puts in the in-between drawings that shows the hand going.
So all these different
ones,
like stop motion.
Yeah, the motion one, where the hand's in motion. And an animator draws a chart that tells you where to put drawing. Let's say this is drawing 1, this is drawing 10, this is drawing 5 in the middle. He shows you where to put 2, 3, and 4, and then 6, 7, and 8. And that's what the in-betweener puts in. And then you become an assistant animator and you do the more extreme drawings. You clean up the more extreme drawings. Then you become an animator and you do the animation yourself. You have to rough the animation out. So anyway, I became an animator and a producer and a director. And I like to say this, and I say this out of love for the industry. I was the best and fastest director directing cartoons in this town before I got sick. And people would, I used to go into my boss's office. I was at Warner Brothers for 27 years without a layoff.
Warner Brothers for 27 years, you guys.
Like the Batman, the animated series, a great Batman that was in the early 90s. I did almost every one of those. I was the animation director on almost every one. What happened there was I was working at Disney's on a contract. I was working on Aladdin and Darkwing Duck and DuckTales and all that stuff. And I had a contract where if you did freelance work at night and on weekends, because this is a kind of industry where you do freelance all the time because you never know when the industry is going to shut down for whatever period of time. So I did a lot of freelance, and I had an exclusive contract with Disney's that I would do freelance for them first before I did anybody else's freelance. Well, I had a friend who I worked with at Disney. She worked at Hanna-Barbera with me too. She left and started Warner Brothers when Warner Brothers opened up. And she called me up one day and she said, "Tim, come on over. I want to buy you lunch and talk to you, show you what we're doing, Batman-wise." So I went over to see her. We had lunch, and this was back in the day when I was still imbibing with that lunch hour, right?
Right,
So
the two martini lunch?
Yeah, no, this is more like a 4 martini lunch. Yeah, this is crazy.
How do people work after that?
They don't. But anyway, so first thing she did was pour 4 martinis down my throat as fast as she could. And she takes me back to the studio. And Warner Brothers was in the Sherman Oaks Galleria at the time, the cartoon studio. So she took me back over to show me this stuff that they're working on Batman. All this beautiful artwork by these guys who are great, great artists. And she says, now, she hands me a storyboard, which is like looking at the comic book of the show. She hands this to me and says, now, how soon can you slug a board? And slugging a board is just a technical term for timing out every scene of animation. You have to time it so it's precise. It's all precise work. And I'm kind of half in the bag at the time, forgetting I'm under contract at Disney, so I'm supposed to give them first right of refusal, right? So I go, well, I guess now. So that phone call, 27 years later, I was still there. And I mean, that's unheard of. It's just, I mean, I've been blessed. I have been blessed my whole career.
So, okay, so you went to Chenard.
Yes.
And then...
I went to Fine Arts Films. They were doing a picture called Archie Mehetabel, and the first thing I ever worked on was the opening titles to a TV show called Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
But wait a minute, wait. Okay. So you went to Chenard though, but how did you actually get into the studio? Did you just like fill out an application and say
yes?
Yeah,
I went there. I had friends who were working already on a job. Well, the first thing I worked on was Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. The opening titles, where there's a radar screen that animates around like this, says "Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea," starring Richard Basehart and whoever. So I did that white line that animated around like that with the help of some guys showed me how to do it. That was the first thing I ever did. Then this animated feature started in town, and a bunch of my friends got jobs who were already in the business. And they said, "Well, Tim, come on over because they're hiring in-betweeners, and I can get you a job as an in-betweener." So I probably had some help from a couple of those guys that got me in. Once I got in, I just rose through the ranks. As the time went by. So I've been just blessed and lucky, and a little bit of talent. I mean, I would say
a little bit here. I'm just gonna pull these animal drawings because they're just so fun. There's a bunch of stuff here, and I'm gonna just pull them, and then you can talk about them at will.
There's the cow.
These are look. I want to just show you. I mean, this is cartoon work at its finest. Simple, yet you clearly know what this is. But I mean, and then colors and just the repetitiveness. Playing with
people tell me I have a great color sense.
You do have a great color sense.
My wife will tell you that I'm colorblind on some colors.
Really?
Yeah, on like grays and browns, and I think it's just that I don't know what color it is. I don't know, but I guess
who cares? Who cares about gray and brown?
There's a pig.
Look at these. I was telling him that I thought this would be great wallpaper in a kid's room, like, you know.
Any of you people know anybody that wants something, let me know. So, So I got in the industry, and I worked with guys who worked on the great Tom and Jerry's from the 1940s, and the great MGM cartoons, and the great Bugs Bunnies, and Disney, you know, Snow White and Pinocchio and Fantasia. These guys were great artists, boy, really great. I always felt that I was kind of like, you know, an okay artist. I wasn't the best top one, and I was like being on 1 to 10, 10 being best. I would probably have 3. Compared to these other guys. I knew guys who were plus 10.
You know what? I don't know. Here, look at this one of the rhinoceros. And so he's got the bird painted here and the bird like jumping on the back.
And he picks all these, this is where he's picking all the bugs off his back there.
Yeah.
And then he falls over asleep.
And he falls over asleep because he's full. But I mean, just fun stuff. I mean, is this watercolor that you're using?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just...
I think this is
the
definitely going to
elephant.
help me get out of this slump.
Is watercolor your preferred medium?
Yeah.
I mean, just... There's a million of them here, you guys.
Yeah, there's turtles, there's everything.
Yeah, I mean, just... And he was just messing around with animals.
Yeah.
Are these sheep?
No,
Or
there's a
cows?
cow again with a bell.
Or cows with a bell?
Cows were some of my favorite animals when I was a little kid, my parents told me.
Just... I mean, oh, here we go. Chickens. I love the chickens.
Oh, there's a good one in there that's I won't tell you, but you'll see the eggs.
The eggs are there, yeah.
Yeah, well,
This
there's one that they're all
Where's that?
eggs, but the very last thing is 2 baby chicks.
Okay, hold on. We'll get to that.
Yeah, it'll be there.
It's
a rooster.
Now, I know that you talked about how fast you work.
Mm-hmm.
How fast, I mean, how long did like a page of these take you? Oh my gosh. Look at this.
Probably a couple hours. Oh, that's the turkey.
That's a turkey. Poor turkey.
There's the duck.
Here's the duck. Just, it's so fun to see these.
Oh, and here's the turkey cooked.
Yeah, and I did see that. But I mean, these are the simplicity in these.
That's a goat.
I've got a stack here. Literally, there is a stack of like 15 or 20 pages, and just sort of, it's like, here's the lamb.
Oh yeah, there's the lamb.
Here's the lamb. I do it like that so that you can see it. And oh, here's the eggs.
Oh, there's the eggs.
These are fun.
And there's the baby chicks.
And the baby chicks down at the bottom. So I mean, these are very cartoon-esque in how they move. You know what I mean? Okay, I gotta put these down. But the alligators, crocodiles. Just okay. I'm gonna stop there. I'm looking, but I'm not gonna show you. Oh no, I have to show you. Here, I mean, this way. Here. The lion.
Yeah. Jim lion.
But I mean, even look at this blue one. You get the sense of like nighttime or shadow, you know, in just one color. In just one color.
Another wild horses.
Wild horses. Somebody's sending you a heart. They love you. They love this. Anyway, so I mean, these are all super beautiful.
These are a lot of fun doing these. I'm going to do some more. I'm inspired.
These are all recent too, like within the last year. So, okay. So you work and you do all this stuff for years and years and years. And now we're going to get to the unavoidable.
Okay. So I was working in 2000 about 2005 or 6. I'm working along and all of a sudden I noticed a weakness in my right arm. And I was literally saying, like, okay, now I have to reach over and grab that pencil. So reach over and grab the pencil. And I couldn't make my arm move. I couldn't make it move. And so I went to my doctor and he said, well, he checks me out and he says, you have to go see a neurologist. So I went to a neurologist. It still breaks me up when I talk about it, but I have to talk about it, so I keep it real. I went to the neurologist, and I like to say he threw a left hook that dropped me right to my knees. lateral Parkinson's disease on my right side, and it destroyed my ability to draw and paint, and I destroyed my right leg, everything. And so I was devastated. I crawled out of that doctor's office. What am I going to do? I mean, like, I've got kids, I've got a mortgage, I've got bills, what do I do now? How am I going to do this? What do I do? So, and I will tell you that I am a proud member of a 12-step group that keeps me clean and sober for 23 years now without anything. And so my best thinking was to load my car with Absolute, my poison of choice, and drive to Mexico and just drink my brains out, because there's no cure to this disease. There's no, there's no cure to it. You're gonna die, and that's it. So I live in acceptance and gratitude. Acceptance and gratitude. That was my best alcoholic thinking for 48 seconds to go to Mexico. Then it was like, God, I can't do this. I am not strong enough to do this. I need your help, and I need it now. This is a no matter what situation right now. I have to do something. And so I convincingly revealed to my mind what to do, and that was to be of service. Be of service at home, at work, on the street, in the program, to help anybody who I can help that needs a hand. I can help them with whatever I have, whatever knowledge I have, whatever I can do to help, I'll help them. And by the way, you have a left hand. So I went to the bookstore, and literally I bought a sketchbook with the very first day. I bought a sketchbook. I opened it up, and on the first page with my left hand, for the first time in my life, I wrote drawings from the left. And I taught myself to draw in right, left hand, and I saved a career. I didn't do that. I like to say, I don't know why this still breaks me up so bad, but it does.
Because it does.
I like to say that a power greater than self, Alcoholics Anonymous, and the people that give up their experience, strength, and hope, so I can learn how to live my life one day at a time. One day at a time. And I taught I knew I knew how to draw. I knew how to draw. I just had to get that information out of here over to here.
Right.
And I figured what I would get would be okay. I'll get whatever I'll get, but it'll get better. It'll get better, like in practice. You're gonna get better whatever you do. And so I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and thankfully, I have a book upstairs. I can bring it down. It has the very first page that I ever did, and thankfully, it was not too far off of what I did right-handed. And one day, many months later, my wife, Susan, who's a wonderful artist, was looking at one of my left-handed sketchbooks. And I had been drawing right-handed sketchbooks for years, too. And she looked at it, and she said to me, my God, I can't tell the difference between your right and your left hand. I can't tell the difference. So I thought, maybe something's at work here that I don't have any control over. I need to do something about it. I need to share this. I need to encourage people to I like to say two things I like people to know about me. One, never, ever, 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 ever give up, ever, on anything you're doing, on anything. Ever. Because I could have given up. I never would have I never would have had done this artwork if I had. Never give up. And the second thing is, I'm here to God, I lost the word, to inspire you. I'm here to inspire you, to help you get through whatever it is you're getting through, and do it. Just sit down and do it. Just do it. Art, this is all my art, and you don't do my art. You do your art. You just sit down and do it, and get that feeling inside. It's just so good for your soul. That it's going to take you into areas you never even knew you had. Look at these animals. You love these animals.
I love them.
And I never would have done this if I hadn't gotten sick with this horrible disease called Parkinson's disease, which is horrible to begin with. I never would have done this work. I never would have met you. Now we're good friends now, guaranteed. So, and I've met so many people. I had a guy call me. I share in meetings. I go to certain meetings and I share all the time. And these meetings, people from all over the world, because of Zoom now has opened up the world for everything. Yeah. And so these people call me from all over the world. They think that I have the silver bullet for Parkinson's disease. And I don't, but actually I thought about this the other day. Maybe I do, but for what I'm doing here. Maybe I do. And that is acceptance. Acceptance and gratitude. I accept that I have this horrible, horrible, horrible disease. That's no fun at all, believe me, no, not at all. But I'm grateful for anything I can do. God gives me the ability to do anything. I'm grateful for that ability. And that's what really matters. That's not all the stuff that's in here, all this junk. This is all junk. What really matters is how you help people and how you can get them out of their depression, whatever you do. So this guy called me, and he had just been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He got my number from somebody, and he said, yesterday I had no hope at all, and today I have hope because I talked to you. How do you get that feeling? How are you lucky enough to get that feeling that somebody says to you? I had one story I want to tell you, because I tell this story in every share I give.
Tell me.
I was working at Warner Brothers, and I moved, and I was out in the mall at the Sherman Oaks Mall, and we were a kid. There was a little boy, about 7 years old, in a real high-tone wheelchair, like an electric wheelchair, with his father, and his father's devotion to the kid was just wonderful. And this kid was apparent that this kid was not going to get out of this wheelchair unless it was a miracle of some sort. But anyway, so I saw them, and they went into the mall, and I went back to my office, and about an hour later, this kid comes rolling into my office at Warner Brothers. I don't know these two people from Adam. And they had been there to see somebody, and somebody said to them, why don't you take him down and introduce him to Tim? Because I had ties that went back to the old Hanna-Barbera, and kids would come into the studio, and they'd come to me, and I would take the time, and I was a good guy sometimes. Some people would tell you that. Anyway, this kid came in, and his whole life was the Justice League of America. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Robin, Green Hornet, Green Lantern, all of them, the whole thing, all of them all together. And I just so happened to be working on the Justice League of America cartoon show at the time. I was animation directing on it. And so I got to show him storyboards and comics and character drawings, and we looked at film and all this kind of stuff. And I had a box of maquettes.
A maquette?
A maquette. And
What's a maquette?
A maquette is a statue. Let's say this is a statue of Batman.
Okay.
This is a statue of Batman.
We're pretending.
And we're pretending it's about 12 inches, 9 to 12 inches tall. And what you do is the studio makes them, and they give them to each of the artists, so you can look at it and see how to draw Batman from every angle. If you're looking at up shot,
I see. Okay.
a down shot, a back view.
So you have an actual physical object to draw.
Yeah, exactly. So you have the whole thing. So somehow I had gotten 2 big boxes of these maquettes, and I had them in my office, and I had to get them out of there. I had to take them to storage, and I hadn't taken them to storage yet. But I had to get them because they were taking up too much room and everything. And so they gave them to us. It became apparent to me why I had not taken them to storage yet. So I give this kid one of the boxes of all these maquettes, right? And then they stayed for a little bit while longer. I spent about 2 hours with this child. And then they left, and everything was fine. And I ran into his father in one of the restaurants in Toluca Lake about a month or 2 later. And with small talk, I asked how he was doing, everything and all that. And his father says to me, "This really kills me." His son said it was the greatest day of his life. How do you get to be the part of someone's greatest day of their life? A power greater than self. In my case, AA, and the people that give up their experience, strength, and hope, so I can learn how to live my life one day at a time. When I think to myself, I could have been loaded, I could have destroyed that kid. I could have destroyed him right on the spot with my behavior. And thank God I didn't, because I had found something that was helping me out. And now I've learned about how you help other people.
So okay, so a question. So when you were first given your 4-martini lunch, that was prior to you being in AA, right?
Yes, yes.
And so alcohol was an issue before that?
Oh yeah. It was a big issue. I had a hard time stopping. And I called a friend one day, and again, I don't know why this is affecting me so much today. I called a friend and I said, Tony, I got a problem. He says, great, I'll see you at so-and-so and so-and-so at 6 o'clock tonight. And I walked in there with a willingness. I had a willingness to listen, to sit down and listen, not talk, just listen. And I heard him say, don't drink, don't use, don't run, no matter what, one day at a time, and we'll get you sober. And I can do that. I can do that. I don't know about these steps on the wall and all that stuff, but all this I can do. I can do that one day at a time. And I've done it every day ever since, 23 years later, working on 24 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know that's such a feat right there.
It's the best thing that ever happened to me, because it's put this into my life. It's put Susan back in my life. It's put people back in my life, kids back in my life. I've been blessed. So anyway, I hope I'm not going too far off balance.
No. This is all good. So okay, so you're here. I'm going to recap a little bit and we'll move forward.
Okay.
So you're diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Yes.
You figure out that now your life has to basically shift into a service position.
Yes.
For the most part. But I know that the Parkinson's, is really difficult to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah,
there's everything about it. It's created all these things. You're having trouble sleeping. You obviously, holding still is a big problem for you.
Oh yeah. Well, what happened was I was so I have Parkinson's disease early on, and so I started taking medication for it. And then my neurologist said, let's go down to UCLA and see them, because there's a thing called a deep brain stimulant. It's an operation that is especially for Parkinson's people. And I went to UCLA. This was a number of years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago now. And they said, you're on a low-level medication. You need to take this higher-level medication. We see how you do on it. And I started taking this higher-level medication, and man, I just took off like a rocket through the roof, and it woke me up.
It was stimulating?
Yeah, it was dopamine, carbidopa and levodopa medication, and it took care of the shakes. It took care of everything. I was running around my morning meeting. These guys have seen me go from walking normal to sliding my feet to shuffling like an old man, walking in there, to running around the parking lot backwards in like one day. And so I did that for a number of years, and eventually the meds, the disease caught the meds.
Yeah.
So then my doctor says to me, well, she has a office in LA and an office in Fresno. So she goes to Stanford University all the time, and she knows all the people there at Stanford. That's why I wear my Stanford hat. So she says, I'm gonna take one of your books over and show it to them and see what they say. So they took one of my books over, and so she says, look, Stanford wants to call you on a Zoom call. I'll be on there too, and we'll do a Zoom call with Stanford so they can talk to you. So they do call me and do a Zoom call, and they run some tests on me and stuff. And they loved my attitude, and they loved my artwork, because they said, your attitude is through the roof. It's just great. And your artwork, we love your artwork. So we want you to come up here and see us. Come up and see us and spend a couple days. So we went up, and luckily I had a friend who could drive us up, because I couldn't drive. And my wife is not really into a driver. So anyway, we went up, and the head doctor, Dr. Casey Halpern, the head neurologist, was leaving, unfortunately. But he wanted to meet me, because he liked when he interviewed me, and his assistant was there, Dr. Bush. And so they ran some tests and did some tests. So they saw me off the meds. I stayed off the meds for a day, and then they put me on the meds, and they saw me on the meds. And they said, you do great on the meds, so you do great with the operation. So I had my artwork there, and I had a painting of the Golden Gate Bridge, and Casey Halpern and his wife loved the Golden Gate Bridge, and he was leaving to go to Penn University, where he graduated from, to take over that department. and so Dr. Bush was taking over, and he's equally as good and great. So, but Dr. Bush, Dr. Halpern picked up the first photograph, or first drawing, a painting, and he looked at it, and he looked at me and he said, "Do you understand the magnitude of what you've accomplished here? It's a miracle. It's like we can't understand it. We don't understand it. It's a miracle that you have this quality of control and you are capable of this." And I told him, I said, I just live in acceptance and gratitude. I do this stuff because I can do it, and so I got the deep. I came back down here, and they said this was like in July of 2021, and in August of 2021 they had.
So hold on. So you knew about the surgery.
Yes.
They sort of told you in about 2010ish or
Yes,
so.
yes.
But you basically had to wait it out.
Yeah, because the UCLA wasn't prepared to even start anything.
They were still in the beginning stages of doing this
I don't know
stuff.
what, they just didn't want to do it for some reason. I don't know why. They wanted, or whatever. I'm glad they didn't because I love the people at Stanford. They were
Maybe
great.
they wanted to wait to see the disease progress a little further?
It could be, I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting.
But,
Okay, but then finally, not until 2020, 2021 were they ready to see you
Yeah.
and ready to actually possibly do this surgery.
So August 13th, and it's a two operations. August 13th and August 20th is when they scheduled it for. So I came back home and they scheduled it. And in between coming back home and scheduling it, I met a guy in AA. Jonathan was his name. He was from New York. I didn't know him from Adam. He was in our Zoom meeting, and he said, "I'm Jonathan. I'm from New York, and I'm here to see Tim." I don't know this guy from Adam. What's he want with me? And he says, "Tim, you've got to get this operation. You'll do great. I had it a year ago, and you'll do great. And you'll do great." So he answered every question I had, every anxiety I had. I didn't think once, because it was like a month till I got the operation. This all happened so fast. I didn't think once about being 6 hours of brain surgery. That's serious stuff. He says, that is serious stuff. And I said, Jonathan, I come back and I see Jonathan, and Jonathan said, Tim, that's 6 hours of brain surgery. That's serious stuff. That's no cakewalk. That's serious stuff. I never once thought about it. He put me at such ease. I met him. We got to August 10th. We went back to Stanford. Dr. Bush met me at the operating room door. And said, "Are you ready to do this, Tim?" At 6 in the morning. And let's go. Get me in there. Come on, I want to get out of here. And let's go. And he goes, "Tim, I can't believe your attitude is through the roof. You're incredible." And so, and they had me draw something. They wanted me to draw something while I was under, because they wake you up and you're like half awake. And they say, like, now move your right hand, move your
right, because they're testing the placement of the instrument.
Exactly. So they had me draw something. Well, there was a light in between me and the pencil and the paper, and I couldn't see the pencil and the paper. So I'm drawing something. It's all very rough and everything. But all of a sudden I say, oh my God, there's Dino the dinosaur. And all the doctors and all the nurses cracked up because they all grew up watching, that stuff. But, and this is 13 months ago, and I'm like this.
This is really incredible.
And the way I say it is that Stanford University gave me my life back 13 months ago.
This
I've
is
been
amazing.
in one major shake in 13 months. The slowness and the stiffness is kind of slowed down a lot. Now, it's still a lot of things in my body that I'm racked in pain and all kinds of stuff, but I can live with that. I can live with it because there's so much good coming out of, not that I'm any good, but there's so much good coming from this operation that I would encourage anybody to get it if they have the opportunity. Because the other thing is that, there's so many things you have to be careful from falling and all kinds of stuff. I fell and spent a week in intensive care at St. Joseph's.
Oof.
And so that was no fun.
So just to be clear, you guys, this surgery, although now he is not trembling, it doesn't cure Parkinson's. It doesn't get rid of it, but it does make it a little bit easier to live with, at least on the physical level.
Yeah, it does. There's a lot more stuff in chronic insomnia and everything, and that comes with it. It's they say Parkinson's is the disease that keeps on taking slowly.
Yeah.
So
never gives back.
No, yeah.
Never.
So you just have to deal with it. And so I find the easiest way for me to deal with it, and the easiest thing for me to do, is to teach people acceptance. You have to get to acceptance somehow. I don't know how you get there. You have to find it yourself. But I find it by my artwork and talking with people, dealing with people, just dealing in everyday situations every day and enjoying the ability to do that. To have a cup of coffee with somebody, to do whatever, to paint a painting, to do whatever, and to be grateful for that, because we lose sight of gratitude for so much that we're capable.
Yeah.
And like I said, all this other stuff doesn't mean anything.
Here, let's pull a couple of things, because I know you did a lot of drawing, like while you were going through a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pull this little picture,
Well,
and this is before, after the surgery.
That's during the surgery.
What?
Yeah, you see.
So
you see, that's a cartoon version. Like I've got that old-fashioned screwdrivers.
This is okay. You didn't do this during the surgery.
No,
this is just a portrayal of like what it might have been like during the surgery.
Yeah.
So, and he just did this after the fact.
Yeah,
but
and all the doctors at Stanford saw that drawing, and they all wanted that drawing.
It's so great.
Yeah.
But I mean, I saw.
This one is, and by the way, God, thank you. In other words, I can be racked in pain and all these problems, but I still see the beauty that God has given me in the mountains, in the forests, the animals that I can enjoy.
I mean, and this is, I know we all have bad times sometimes, but I mean, what a beautiful attitude to have, even in bad times, that there's something to be learned from all of it.
Yeah, that one.
This one was you. I know when you had talked about this one a little bit. When I miss grabbing the brush or pencil, I find myself holding the 12 by 12 book and reading my prayer to St. Francis, the most powerful words I know. And so here's a little drawing he did of himself in the middle of the night with a cup of coffee and reading his prayer.
Yeah.
But I mean, the inspiration that came from your Parkinson's,
Yeah. This one I love because these are two guys waiting for me at the Hollywood Burbank Airport or any airport. And the guy says, have you heard anything about Tim's plane? And the other guy says, I think it's arriving now. And here's me in the cockpit flying the plane, and the plane's shaking and everything all over the place. This is silly. Sometimes,
it's silly lightness.
You get into really dark stuff. This is the Parkinson's monster that terrorized me as a child, that lived under the bed, that I thought was going to get me every night.
You didn't know it was the Parkinson's monster, though. You just thought it was a monster.
Yeah, but this is the part of the monster that I never saw. It never got me, but it still terrorized me, and terrorizes me to this day in the form of Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And I think does it say anything down here? It's oh God, how much more? How much more do I have to take of this stuff?
Now I'm going to pull one more. Do you want to talk? Which one do you want to talk about?
There's one that I love here.
There's so many.
There's tons here.
Yeah, you did.
Well, this is a good one.
I love this one too. This one was displayed.
Like to put on a sock, something that you can have done all your life, right? And you put your leg up and try to get the sock on your foot, and you reach down and it's just far enough off that you can't quite reach it,
I can just imagine. It's sort of comical and sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Look at even just in terms of the artwork, look at the detail. So little says so very much.
Let's see if I can find this. Just one
here, and there's some people talking here, so let me jump in and let's see what people are saying. So hi Sandy, I see that you're here. Hi Carol, hi Ann, hi Clifton, hi Maya, Julie, Clifton says, people matter not just because it's the right thing to do, it's because there's phenomenal leadership in everyone. And to share it is gifting the benefit of our collective community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I could never come up with that. It's too intelligent for me.
Georgia says the 12 steps save lives and souls. Gail's watching. And Georgia says she's so happy for you, and I think that's when you were holding out your hand and talking about your surgery. And Clifton says, acceptance is part of what I call grace. When I pray for people, it is what I pray for. Please lend them. I'm sorry, I can't. It doesn't want to open the rest of this. Oh, grace. Just please lend them grace. Patrick's watching. Hi, Patrick. Love his recent artwork. Yeah. And you know what we were talking about before we were on camera? We were talking about the fact that he... Oh, here. Let's show this one.
This is the one in the middle of the night. Everything is dark. I'm not sleeping. Chronic constipation, chronic insomnia. And I'm thinking, like, anything I can do to not put a gun or a bottle or a drug in my system, in my mouth. And so I'm thinking about suicide. I draw this thing. And I go, how can I bring some funny to this? How can I bring some humor to this horrible situation? And I think of a clown with a gun. And so I go, just my luck, I steal a gun from a clown and I shoot myself in the ear and the flag comes out the other and says bang on it.
Wasn't very effective, was it?
No.
What you know what we were talking about beforehand though is while he was working at the studios, we were talking about how busy you were and how burnt out you were making studio drawings, and that you never really did any artwork for yourself.
I never did any artwork for myself till I started doing this, and now I must have 3,000 paintings. Literally, I mean, there's stuff in.
I mean, talk about a gift. I mean, even though you had the Parkinson's.
Yeah.
I mean, here now you have the gift of like a whole different level of artwork.
Oh yeah, yeah. I never would have done stuff like that. I've woken up stuff in me that I never thought to have. This is one I like.
Here, we're gonna.
This is the crows waiting for the bus to NoHo, North Hollywood. On the Magnolia Boulevard lamp thing. I saw a bunch of crows sitting up there one day when I was driving home. My wife was driving us home. And I thought, well, I got to do something with that. I like that.
You were saying that you were doing some abstract work?
Yes.
What do you got? Let's see.
There's something. That's a little abstract for you.
This is fun. And you know what he does is like he draws something on the back and he doesn't like it, and then he turns it over and he tears it up, and then he does more paintings.
I pick it up the next day and I paint on the back.
So, I mean, abstract work, really colorful, beautiful shapes, lines, movement. I mean, they really wiggle. He's got books and books and books of stuff, you guys. It's just insane. As he hunts through, we were talking about a tree that's up behind the Warner Brothers lot where he used to work, and it sits up on a hill all by itself. And they call it the Tree of Wisdom. And he says people go up there sometimes and write letters and leave them somewhere. He's never been up there himself, but he says that he draws it often. And here's a version of it. I was also asking him about how he got these white lines so crisp, because I was so curious about that. And he was saying he uses a white ballpoint pen, and it just goes right over the watercolor. Makes it almost, you almost don't have to use a mask if you're using watercolors.
These are all characters. I don't have any.
That's okay. When you do your abstract work, do you gravitate, I don't know, towards shapes, towards movement, towards color? Do you have a particular way that you go about it?
I just kind of put stuff down. I just start putting it down on paper and
I mean, this is a really, I mean, these, as I'm looking at this stuff, I would just look at this little character right here. But I'm also looking at, you know, the experimentation with shapes and movement and even organic things. Like you start to see the leaves. Those yellow lines right there sort of remind me of bananas. All kinds of really interesting stuff. Do you see that maybe abstract is the direction that you're really moving towards now?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, I wish I got some. I could go get a folder upstairs.
It's okay.
This is kind of
This is more abstract.
A little more, but I mean, I've done a lot more things like this. That are really, really.
So, so why do you think I mean, I think most people start to work more abstractly as they get further along into their art careers. It seems to be the big unknown for whatever reason. How do you feel about that?
I would go along with that. I would think that it just gets easier going abstract than having to nail something down tight but in reality, abstract is harder.
I was just gonna say,
yeah.
You're saying this thing, and I'm like, oh, but abstract is really difficult.
No, abstract is difficult. And I'm gonna go upstairs and get one of those books because I have a couple.
All right.
If you wanna just
I will
share
sit
some
here.
of these,
I will entertain.
I'll be right back. I promise. I want definitely get one of these abstract.
He's going upstairs. All right. So let me see. Let me find you some stuff here. I mean, there's just some incredible work, especially all the work that was done during Parkinson's. Here's one that he didn't talk about, but very much, you know, a picture of himself with Parkinson's and how it feels to walk around and all his characters watching him as he's walking and shaking and moving along. And you can see there's Goofy, there's Wilma, there's Fred, you know, there's Yogi and Boo Boo, all those things. Let's see what else here. I mean, just what it feels like to be sitting at his table and drawing while he has Parkinson's. I mean, just really, really incredible stuff. I mean, doing the cartoons is one thing, but then having to explore your own life while you're going through something big like this is why I talk about doing art as a means to get stuff out of you. You know, you just don't even know what's there. Here's just a little cityscape he did, again on the back of something that he drew before. Just a little cityscape. And how much is conveyed in this simple form. You know, it's not super detailed. There's not a bajillion colors. You can see that the colors aren't like super mixed to make them exact. I mean, they're figurative and realistic in a way, but not overly so. Not photographic. They're just really beautiful little things. I hear him coming down the stairs. So much work here. Okay, here he comes. He's brought us a present. Okay. So this, okay. Can I pull a couple of these out?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So,
I really like these too.
yeah, so here, we're gonna, I don't know if this is the way, should it be like this?
I don't know. It could
You
be
don't know, it could be any way you want it to
any way
be.
we want it to be.
But so like experimentation with
Color and shape.
yeah, swaths of color, and just not even a lot of colors in every swath. I mean, just 1, 2, 3 colors, but so effective in conveying ideas. I mean, just so beautiful. I don't want to take them all out and then not put them away. So I'm just taking them out one at a time.
Yeah, they're not.
But, so just. Oh, here's another one that looks fun. It's coming. All right, let's pull another one. You got it?
Yeah. I think I do.
Here. I got it. It's stuck there for a second. So this one, some figurative, you can see some figurative work in it, you know, but then so beautifully and abstractly done, you know, put together in a really interesting way. Okay, thank you. This one too, okay. So you can start to see.
Oh, these are good too. Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a bunch of you on this page that have issues. We all have issues. Oh, this is lovely. So you get, are these like monsters up at the top looking down?
They're devils.
They're devils.
Yeah, Devil's Garden.
The Devil's Garden.
And here's the tree again.
Some of you, oh, trees, and look at them. Okay. Just, I keep thinking these would be great, like as lithographs, or even, or even as prints. What is it? The ones where you scoop? No, the prints. What? Wood, like wood blocking and stuff. You know, these would be great as wood blockings. But I know that there's some of you in the group that, you know, everybody, we all have all kinds of issues, but I mean, there's some of you with fibromyalgia, some of you that are suffering with neuropathy, you know, all this sort of stuff. And if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
There is a way. I mean, I know a few of you have changed mediums just to be able to keep working and be artistic. This is the way you do it. Okay, let's pull like one more and then we can, I think we can say thank you to everyone. And thank you to you. I'm letting him pick these. There's so many. All right. Here, last one. So just experimentation with shapes and colors and whatever it looks like. I'm just going to turn it over and flip it over just so you can sort of mess with it in your head. This one reminds me of snakes and I don't know what else. It almost looks, I know you did it this way because I see your signature down here, but I sort of look at it like this. Yeah. And I think of this as like tree roots.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I
love your, what does
that.
it say, people?
Yeah. I love your abstracts. That was Georgia.
Great.
And that was Clifton saying that he loves your recent work.
Great. Thank you.
So I so appreciate you being here and being with us.
My pleasure. Anytime you want to do this again, I'll be happy to.
You never know. Maybe we'll do a part 2.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna. Does anybody have any questions that you want to ask? Anything that you want to know about his art, about Parkinson's, about I don't know, sobriety, anything? Anything. He says. It takes a minute to type stuff up, so I'm gonna give them.
Boy, it takes me more than a minute because I do this. The peck.
Are you a hunt and pecker?
Yes, that's the only way I know how to do it.
Well, you know, at least you get it done.
Yeah. It takes a while.
I will post the link to his webpage. Tim is not a big social media guy, but whatever I can find for him, I'll post so that you can follow along. And you're also more than welcome to reach out to you if
if anybody wants to call me for any reason.
He's a super accessible person, so that if I want him to know I will not forget him. That's what Clifton says.
Wow, thank you. Clifton's
in Detroit, by the way. He says hi from Detroit.
Oh, great. Cool.
All right, you guys. We're gonna close this up. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all. Have a beautiful Sunday.
Yes.
Talk to you later.
Please do. Thank you. Thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome. Bye.